You know Doomsday Preppers. You might even personally know a Doomsday Prepper. Shit, you might even be one. But do you actually know Doomsday Preppers? Well, I spent the past 2 years doing ethnographic work with them, wrote a 120-page thesis about it, presented at Harvard on this topic, and boy, did I learn a lot. You should sit down, grab some MRE rations, and hear me out as I talk you through my journey learning about preppers and what they taught me about doomerism. So Doomsday Preppers are a group that the media loves. If you've ever watched Doomsday Preppers by National Geographic, then preppers to you are idiots who shoot their own thumbs off. When I moved to the US, I did so for a PhD in anthropology, and somewhere along the line, I ended up working with preppers, which meant going into their homes, breaking bread with them, and getting to know their stories. So how is it that so-called apocalypse-obsessed fanatics are actually the antidote to doomerism? Well, let's talk about it. Preppers are not always what we think they are. First things first, let's curb any misconceptions you might have about Doomsday Preppers. If you're thinking of some dude on a porch with a shotgun hissing at everyone who walks by, you're pretty much wrong. I mean, sure, there are some preppers that will fit that stereotype to a T. I live in the US South, so I could probably find a guy like that in 20 minutes. But after truly spending time with preppers, I realized that there's a huge part of their culture that gets overlooked. They don't want the world to end. They're actually preparing to mitigate disasters, like the preppers M and J. M and J are a prepper power couple, and during Hurricane Helene, a brutal hurricane that affected the US South and Virginia, M and J hosted a Thanksgiving meal that fed over 150 people who hadn't had a hot meal in months. And when I asked M why she did it, she said in simple terms, because that's what preppers do. And this isn't an isolated thing. After the flooding destroyed people's homes, groups of preppers got together and started turning old trailers into temporary homes for people who had been displaced. And I remember thinking, that's fucking awesome. So why does any of this matter? Well, chill out, because I'm getting there. Agency and autonomy. Simply put, the backbone of prepping is feeling like you have agency and autonomy to prevent bad things happening at best and to minimize their damage at worst, while the backbone of doomerism and Gen Z nihilism is feeling like you don't have autonomy to do anything at all. And both are valid. So here's where I come in. I genuinely had a strong sense of nihilism before I started working with preppers, because what am I meant to do about all the shitty things, right? Except slowly and confidently, the preppers I spent time with taught me a lot about small things, such as growing my own food or taking better care of my body. And now I think I could survive like 6 months of a zombie apocalypse pretty well before I run out of food and energy. And hey, that's a flex, okay? Tell me how long you think you could survive in the comments. But the reason why this mindset shift is important, especially for us young'uns, is because we genuinely lack autonomy in so many ways. We go to school or learn a trade because we have to. We get a job because we have to. We work 40 hours and commute 10 hours because we have to. Whereas being more autonomous and in control of your body and resources is actually incredibly helpful in taking the baby steps you need to take to process why you might feel doomeristic and how to resolve it. Honestly, getting off your phone and shit like that will help, but it's not going to help as much as knowing that you are genuinely capable of surviving and making the world a better place, one pepper at a time. Hopelessness is not chic, girl. Doomerism and Gen Z hopelessness is also just the vibe now. And again, can you blame us? I remember one time in a conversation with a prepper, I told him that I just struggled to imagine my future or plan for it because everything is so uncertain. And he looked at me like I was an alien. Preppers fundamentally differ from doomerism in that we are all seeing the same problems, like uncertainty, confusion, fucking AI. But at the same time, as doomers are asking what the point is, preppers are out here like, what am I going to do about it? So being radically hopeless is comforting in some ways. Like, woohoo, nothing matters. I can do whatever the fuck I want. But we as humans want and need things to matter. That's literally our whole thing. That's why the first human ever, aka my boy Aristotle, just farted and thought all day long. We live in a culture that constantly tells us that caring is pointless because our problems are too big, but preppers gave me a really simple alternative. Maybe you don't have to believe you can save the world because, let's be realistic, maybe you just have to believe you're capable of doing something, anything at all. So hopelessness isn't chic, guys. Sorry. Community and cats. Okay, so obviously you need community to counteract doomerism. We all need community so much. It takes a village to raise a child, and it also also takes a village to raise me, a 24-year-old woman. Preppers place a huge emphasis on community, and they think that you are only as strong as the people around you. One prepper told me a story about how he and his family sometimes hunt for their dinner, except this prepper throws up at the sight of blood and skin and all of those things, but his son is really good at handling that kind of stuff, so they divide the task to get it done. You really deserve to be around people who fill in for your weaknesses. And look, if you aren't going to try and make the world a better place for yourself, you should absolutely, fundamentally, try for others. And I'm calling out Gen Z a little bit when I say this. Unfortunately, we all agree that we've inherited a pretty poor landscape from boomers. That's not even a hot take, that's a historic fact. But whatever, it's in the past, right? In my opinion, though, we now owe it to Gen Alpha to lock in and think about improvement for their betterment. Or what's to stop Gen Alpha growing up one day and calling us the boomers? Let that sink in. Robin Kimmerer calls this becoming an ancestor, where she argues that the world would be a better place if we all saw ourselves as responsible for the next generation. And community doesn't always mean human relationships either. I once had a prepper tell me that he has a to-go bag for his cat. Preppers love their cats. So if you aren't going to fight to wrestle this world back from the hands of disparity for yourself, do it for the fucking cats, man. I know this video isn't going to Thanos snap everything into being perfect. It's like, what, a 6 to 7 minute video? And it might not even change your mind, which is fine. Realistically, you're probably going to forget this video by tonight, actually, if you even got this far. But small moments make up for big momentum, and the human collective is quite literally the most powerful and capable thing on this earth. So you should subscribe to me and go buy some tin soup. Bye, and I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed. I love you.